Welcome, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Fair Territory. I'm Ken Rosenthal here with my friend Alanna Rizzo. And Alanna, I can't remember which show it was. Who can remember what is said and when? But I do recall saying on one of our shows that the only bummer about the season is that the races are kind of decided. We know who the playoff teams are going to be. Well, as I always say, and this is the one intelligent thing I will say, this game makes fools of us all.
Ken, it does make us look a little bit silly. And I think it was on this very show we had that discussion. But let's look at this from a different perspective. The Seattle Mariners, Ken, seem to have a pattern of play at this time of year in recent memory. What's going on with the M's?
I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Obviously, they're not playing well right now. 6-14 in their last 20. Remember, they went 10-1 starting July 31st, the day of the deadline. Looked like they were going to be in great shape. On August 10th, they were a half game out of first, holding the top wild card spot. And again, since then, 6-14. The Astros actually have gone 10-10 over that same span, not exactly burning the house down, and they've gained 4 games. You see the standings in the wild card race right there, and this is what we're talking about. The Mariners lead over the Texas Rangers, a team that was left for you know what after the injuries to Seager and Evaldi and so many others. They're just 1.5 back. Kansas City and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay that just swept the Mariners. They are now 2.5 back. The Guardians 3 back. Do the Mariners have still a commanding position for the wild card? Yes, but they are 4 out in the division, which is a place they should not be. And yes, Alanna, as you mentioned, to get to what you were referring to, this would be the 3rd straight year that they would miss the playoffs with a really good chance. 2023 on September 2nd, right around this time of year, they're 77-58. They lead the division by a game. They then went 8-15. 8-15. They won 3 of their last 4, but still missed the playoffs by a game. Now, last year was a little bit different, but on June 18th, they were 44-31, led the division by 10 games. 10. And yet, it still didn't happen for them. They go 25-39 from June 19th to September 3rd, play well down the stretch again, but again, missed by 1 game in the wild card, falling short. So this is the 3rd straight year where we've seen this swoon from them. Now, their players are aware of it. They've spoken about it, and clearly they want this bad spell to end, but obviously they know this too. They need to do something about it. Now, the one qualifier I'll give here is that every team in contention we have seen this season seem to have these incredible peaks and valleys. So maybe this is their valley, and maybe they'll come out of it again, and especially when they get home, because they've been a poor road team. But this is certainly not what they envisioned. Since the deadline, people talk about, well, they improved their offense with Eugenio Suarez and Josh Naylor. They did. But Suarez has really struggled. He's 195 batting average with the Mariners, 6 homers, 665 OPS. Naylor's been good, but their pitching has not been what it was advertised to be. 24th in the majors in ERA since the deadline. Kirby gave up, I believe, 8 last night. That's where the problem is.
Yeah, and the pitching has always been their strength. Although I felt like this year the whole team was a little bit more complete. But Ken, it's not just the Mariners. You discussed it. Why does it seem, and I know that this is not the case, but why does it seem like nobody really wants to win the AL West? They continue to jockey for position, but nobody's pulling away.
I don't know the answer to that. And I don't know the answer why this seems to be a league-wide problem. Now, the Astros are in a very good position right now. That was a huge win last night over the Yankees. We'll get into that. But they have been a team that has been riddled by injuries. So you can kind of understand why they have not played necessarily to their potential. Even now, they're missing Hader. They've got Jordan back, but it's not a team that is necessarily whole. No team is at this time of year. So I don't know what's going on there and how this is going to play out, but we've talked about the Astros all year long in this regard. Until you knock them off, they're the champ. And they remain that way. They have this unique quality about them, even with this week's shenanigans with Fromber. So, sure, they still look like the team that is going to get there. And not only get there, I would expect that they're going to be a problem in the postseason as well.
Let's talk about the MVP race, Ken, because obviously Cal Raleigh very much a huge piece of the Seattle Mariners. But how does it impact the MVP race with Seattle not playing as well as they should be at a critical time of year?
Yeah, it would. And obviously, the season is not over, so we cannot make any determination just yet. But Raleigh's chances fade a little bit, in my estimation, if the Mariners do not make the playoffs. If they fall out of it, that would be a problem. That wouldn't be his fault, of course. And you see the numbers right there. Judge still with the massive lead in OPS, on base percentage. Obviously, Raleigh's got the 51 homers at catcher, which is incredible. But Raleigh, since, I don't know, June 25th or so, average is below 200. Batting average is not that big a deal. His OPS is 770 or something like that. But he was much better before June 25th, those first 3 months, than he has been since. Then you have Judge. He hasn't been great lately since coming off the IL, still not playing the field. So the last few weeks will decide that.
Ken, let me ask you really quick before we move on to the AL East, Judge's division, obviously. Who is the more valuable player to their respective team in your estimation? Is it Cal Raleigh to Mariners, or is it Aaron Judge to the Yanks?
It's such a difficult question. They're both extremely valuable to their teams. And Alanna, I hate to dodge it, but I always dodge this question when AJ asks me on Foul Territory, who's your MVP right now? It's not a relevant question to answer right now. They're both incredibly important to their teams. And certainly the catcher, you can always make the case the catcher is the most important because of where he plays. But when you have the advantage in OPS that Judge does, it makes the conversation a little bit more difficult, to say the least.
All right. Hopefully, I don't have that same type of girth that AJ Pierzynski has when I ask you that question. Let's move on to the AL East. And of course, it also seems like this is a division, Ken, that nobody really wants to win this either. Jockeying for position. As you mentioned, we could talk about this league wide because the NL West is the same way. But the Blue Jays gained a game on Boston and New York Wednesday night. Now they're 3.5 up in terms of that. Springer, again, Benjamin Button, much like Aroldis Chapman, is doing such an amazing job this season offensively. He's third in the majors in OPS, but the bullpen is still problematic. What do you make of it?
Well, we're going to have an interesting showdown this weekend, Blue Jays Yankees. And that's going to be something that I don't know that determines this thing, but certainly if the Yankees lose 2 of 3 or get swept, their chances of winning the division become that much more difficult. And we'll talk about the Red Sox too. Their chances have become more difficult with the loss of Roman Anthony. But the Jays, it seems to me they have enough of a cushion. Now, the bullpen is a problem, as you mentioned, Alanna. And Jeff Hoffman, he's been up and down all year. He's on a run now of 3 straight scoreless. I know Jays fans have seen this before, and then he implodes again. You have to hope that he's on the right track. Even a guy like Little, he's been struggling. You get Louis Varland from the Twins, and he has had his moments, but he's had his moments that have been really bad too, and they're perplexed by it. So the bullpen clearly is a huge question for them, both for the rest of the regular season and into the postseason. But they've been a pretty resilient bunch, and we'll see how they fare this weekend. It's going to be a fascinating series in Yankee Stadium. But I still like the Jays to win this division because of what is going on with the 2 other clubs. And let's get into that. Let's get into Anthony, because Anthony had been, for the Red Sox, such a valuable player. This dude comes up and in 71 games, 292 batting average, 396 on base, 463 slug, 8 home runs, 32 RBIs in those 71 games, leading off, dynamic player, a guy that we can certainly see in the future being an MVP candidate. Without him, they're not the same. And you'll see Duran will be back in the leadoff spot against the righties. They use Nate Eaton against a lefty on Wednesday. It's not the same lineup, obviously. And they too have some pitching concerns beyond their big 3. So I still like the Red Sox, but I like them a whole lot less without Anthony. And then there are the Yankees. And we saw that game last night. It was kind of a typical Yankee game from this year. Now, granted, the umpire and what was going on in the late innings, it was awful. And yes, there were calls, particularly against Devin Williams, that should have gone the other way. But let's look at this game. They lead 4-1. Will Warren starts the 6th inning, and he's at 60-something pitches. He allows a leadoff homer to Jeremy Pena. Now, Yankee fans are saying, oh, you should have left him in for more, and rather than start the bullpen carousel. No, when you give up the homer leading off the sixth, that's the signal. It's time. So they go to the bullpen, and what happens before Devin enters the game? You see Cruz allow a run, and you see Weaver allow a run. And then you get to Devin Williams, and he had his problems again. Yes, you could ask the question, should Boone have lifted him with one out and the bases loaded? Yes, but he did strike out the next hitter. And then Duvall, he is a complete mess, balk, wild pitch, the whole thing. Their bullpen is also an issue, obviously. And they, even after that big win in the series opener, need to show they can play consistently solid baseball against the better teams. This weekend for them against Toronto, a team that they have struggled with all season, next big test.
Let me ask you this, circling back to the Boston Red Sox for just a second. It's a two-part question, two different people. They just put Jordan Hicks on the IL, apparently, Ken, with shoulder inflammation. I'm going to go ahead and say that's because it's inflammation of lack of production. That's why Jordan Hicks is on the IL. But going back to Roman Anthony for just a second, is it fair to put the pressure on a 21-year-old to take you to the promised land? And I'm not saying that they were putting that pressure on him, but really, is that what the Boston Red Sox are holding their hat on, that they're going to make it to the postseason because of a 21-year-old rookie?
It's a fair question, Alanna. And in the wake of the Devers trade, in which Jordan Hicks was one of the players they acquired, they became a different team. They actually became a better team in some ways because they were more flexible with their roster and could do some things. And Anthony emerged during this period as a potential superstar. So they weren't necessarily hanging their hat on him, but he became an integral part of what they do. And the way I look at it, any team that loses a player of this caliber at this time of year, that's a problem. And it wasn't that they were relying so much on Anthony. It's just that they needed him. He was part of why they were so good. You look at the Brewers yesterday, they lose Shelby Miller. Christian Yelich doesn't play. He's got back trouble. There are injuries occurring all over the sport. Kyle Tucker, again, is problematic in Chicago with the Cubs. So Anthony is in that category. He's that important a player. The Red Sox didn't necessarily build their team around him, but the way it all played out, yes, he became a critical part of what they do. And without him, and it looks like he's out for at least the rest of the regular season with an oblique, it's really difficult.
Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks on the IL for the Roman Empire. Marcelo Meyer, also on the IL for the rest of the year. All right, coming up on Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal. Get those questions in for Grillin Ken. A lot to talk about. We'll be back right after this break.
FT fam, designer clothes can be expensive, but we want our clothes to look good. We want to feel good. We want them to be affordable. And Kratz, if you tell me that I can wear a t-shirt that looks like it's tailored, but it's not actually tailored, and it just comes that way, then sign me up for True Classic.
Have to. You got to sign up for it because these shirts are soft, they're thin, they're durable, and they're very versatile. You can wear them to the gym. You can wear them out to a nice dinner. Let's get after it because these shirts are the real deal.
They are. Check it out. I've got one of the performance ones. It's a nice blue, fits well. I can go to the gym. I can go out. I can do FT in a shirt like this. FT fam, there's a reason why True Classic has sold over 25 million shirts to more than 5 million customers. And they are racking up over 200,000 5-star reviews. See for yourself with our exclusive link at trueclassic.com/foul to save. That's trueclassic.com/FOUL.
All right, get those questions in right here for Ken Rosenthal on Grillin Ken. The first one comes from Armand. We appreciate you. You know it's going to be a Met question. Armand is our Met boy, Ken. Grillin Ken, should Kodai Senga accept going down? It's his decision based on a clause in his contract, and per Mike Puma, we should know a decision on Friday. What is your take?
My guess would be yes, if they have a detailed plan for him on what is wrong and what he needs to fix, and if it can really help them. If they're just looking for a roster spot, which they might be, because it came out this morning, it was reported that Brandon Sproat is going to make his debut Sunday against the Cincinnati Reds. Rookie starting pitcher number 3. The door keeps spinning. Yes, Senga has struggled. Yes, it's been a bit of a mystery for sure. But at the same time, this guy signed a contract. He has the right to reject that assignment. And if I'm him and they're telling me to go to the minors, I would say, okay, that's fine. But what are we doing here? What is the plan? When am I coming back, etc.?
What do you think is going on with Senga? I'm not asking you to break down his mechanics, but what have you seen?
I'm not sure, to be honest. It seems to be a command issue that the pitchers aren't going where he wants them to go. That's what command is. But I have not broken it down that closely, and I'm not exactly sure what it is. He's obviously had injuries, and maybe that's taken a toll on him. But again, I'm not quite sure where they are with this and whether they think it's mechanical, whether they think it's execution. What exactly is the problem?
All right, Ken, the forkball isn't forking. We know that. Daniel Rothenberg, the next question here. Thank you for the super chat, Daniel. We appreciate you. Pitchers always give 100% effort on each pitch. If you signed one to a 9-figure extension, would you want them to throw at 80% if it meant no injury? Ken, I don't think you can pitch with injury on the back of your mind. What do you say?
Daniel asked an interesting question here. Now, the answer to his specific question is no. You cannot ask a player to give less than full effort, and it just doesn't work like that. What I believe needs to happen, and we've talked about this a lot, is that the sport needs to put in rules to kind of prevent pitchers from throwing as hard as they can at full maximum effort. And what I mean by that is this. If you reduce the size of a staff, if you go from 13 to 12, maybe even to 11. Now, I know it's crazy given the way staffs are used today, but if you do that, pitchers have to throw more innings, obviously, because there are fewer of them available, and therefore they cannot go all out every pitch. And ultimately, that's the change I think that needs to be made. It's a change in the sport, not a team or an individual player. It's a wholesale difference from where we are right now. I know there are many, many, many problems with this idea, and there is a fear that there would be just as many injuries, maybe even more, but I don't buy that. And to me, shrink the staff, and then guys automatically could not throw as hard because they would need to be available for longer.
Yeah, it's such a difficult conversation to have. Everybody throws 100 miles an hour, but the injuries seem to be creeping up. But if you don't throw 100 miles an hour, Ken, you don't get a job. Okay, Cole Bassett's left foot, which is an interesting handle. Ken, what are your thoughts on Cardinals hitting coach Brant Brown and manager Oliver Marmol speaking out on KMOX Gas House Gang Show about the struggles with Jordan Walker?
I was a little surprised to see them that honest. Ollie Marmol is an honest guy, but this has been going on a while with Jordan Walker, and they want him to do certain things. They want him to be a certain kind of hitter, and to this point, it's not working. I think that these are probably things that they've said to him. I'm sure of this. They have said these things to him in face-to-face situations, and it just seems to me that there's a frustration level here. Understandably, I'm sure Jordan Walker is frustrated too, and they need him to be better going forward, and they want him to be better, and there are certain adjustments he needs to make, and those guys spoke honestly. I don't think they were ripping him per se. They were just kind of explaining, hey, here's what needs to happen. And yeah, there are things that need to happen.
Honestly, I appreciate the honesty. It's rare in today's game. We appreciate the questions, you guys, on Grillin Ken. We will be right back after this break with Dude and Dork of the Week.
We're throwing a curveball at you this week for our Arena Club segment, as AJ has opened up a Pokemon slap pack.
Is that how you say it?
Pokemon slap pack. Pokemon. Don't ask me to say what that card is, but what are you doing with that card?
I already sold it. Are you kidding me?
Sold it back, baby.
I bought it, and then I got more money than I paid for the pack, so I sold it straight back.
You bought it for
$250.
You sold it for
$299.
And you can go get yourself something that you maybe know how to pronounce.
Yes, or know what it is. I just did it because I saw certain people opening Pokemon, and they were making money, and guess what? I got lucky. Made money off of it too.
Exactly. But of course, if you're into sports cards, that is something that you can find a ton of on the Arena Club Marketplace. Buy, sell, slab pack, trade. 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase can be had at arenaclub.com/foul and use the code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/foul and use code FOUL.
Swing big on your next MLB parlay. Use this Parlay Boost token to score a bigger payout if your baseball parlay hits. Gambling problem or concern? There is help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Dude.
Okay, Ken, who is your dude of the week? Who are you giving props to?
All right, not to rub salt in the Red Sox wounds right now, but Rafael Devers, and forget the Kyle Freeland nonsense. I don't care about that. Rafael Devers in the last month plus has been the Rafael Devers of old. If you remember, the trade was June 15th. He struggled initially, and that's a big adjustment. That was a shocking trade. But since August 1st, starting August 1st, 291 batting average, 997 OPS for the season right now. For the season, 30 home runs, 97 RBIs, 870 OPS. This is the Rafael Devers we all know and have come to admire over the years. The Giants are suddenly on the fringes of the wild card race, like a week and a half after their manager, Bob Melvin, was reported to be in trouble. He still might be in trouble, but good for the Giants and good for Devers in kind of finding his footing there and doing it in a big way. Dude of the week.
Again, nobody wants to win the division. Dang it. Somebody please pull away and win a division. All right. My dude of the week is a Red Sox, the newest Red Sox, in fact. Peyton Tolley made his major league debut. The guy's only 22 years old. He looks like he's 35. He looks like Magnum PI, but what a debut for him. I love the emotion. I love the execution. He had 8 punch outs, 5 1/3 innings, ended up getting 3 earned runs. Really, one of those was he did leave the guys on base, but Weissert just had a terrible outing. His brother and his father were in the stands. Peyton Tolley lost his mom to cancer, and he had, in his post-game interview, said that he heard his mom in his head saying, "You're still a hack." He had a laugh about that. His younger brother in the stands, he's like, I don't know what's such a big deal about his major league debut. No big deal. The perfect response from a younger brother. Welcome to the Bigs, Peyton Tolley. We are very proud of you. Okay, time now for Dork of the Week. Ken, if you don't mind, I'm going to take honors here and do my dork of the week first. My dork of the week is a Houston Astro by the name of Framber Valdez. And why this man decided he was going to throw and hit at his own catcher because he didn't like his catcher telling him to kind of step back off the rubber is unreal to me. You don't hit your own teammate. And again, this is not the first time that Framber Valdez has had temper tantrums on the mound or in the clubhouse or on the field. That's inappropriate. And you heard Eric Kratz say on foul territory, rather, that he wanted to punch him right in the face. And I don't know that there's a minor leaguer or a major leaguer that wouldn't want to do the same thing. Framber Valdez, you were my dork of the week.
All right. Now, Alanna, speaking of poor teammates, and that's what we're talking about here, I want to play for you a clip from the end of our broadcast Saturday in Kansas City on Fox.
Bobby, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason, back to you.
Ken, thank you. Bobby, thank you. AJ, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Jason. Always fun working with you. I'm just mad they didn't get Ken Rosenthal in the ice bucket.
He saw it coming. He's a vet.
Now, we're talking about teammates here. And we had, at the end of the broadcast, a situation where Bobby Witt got water dunked on him, and I did slip out of the way. I don't always. I did in that case. Alanna, you know the feeling as well as anyone. For AJ to say that, for him to wish ill on me, wish ill on his teammate, he is dork of the week. And I will say this, Alanna, this is not the first time he's won the award. Like Framber, he's a multiple offender.
Do you think we should admit that AJ Pierzynski dork of the week?
You know where I'm going with this, Alanna. You are reading my mind. We are working together in sync. Now, we had the award named for another person. We ended that. We didn't want to do that anymore. But we have to rename it for somebody else. We'll rename it for somebody else. AJ, congratulations. Dork of the week again. And you know what? I know he won't be offended by this. One, because he's been called worse. And two, because he doesn't watch our show. Doesn't watch our show, doesn't read my stories, just wishes ill on me at the end of games.
How dare you? How dare you? AJ Pierzynski wishing ill will on our friend and colleague, Ken Rosenthal. All right, let me ask you this, Ken, before we say goodbye to our TV audience. Tell me about your memory from the Cal Ripken 21-31 game.
Well, Lana, I wrote about this yesterday in the wind-up for The Athletic. It's our daily newsletter. It's free. And I've said this forever. That was the highlight of my career. That's my column on the left side that night. And it's the highlight of my career because of what that night meant to Baltimore, to baseball, coming off the strike, really to the country as a whole. Both the president, Bill Clinton, and the vice president, Albert Gore, were in attendance that night, as well as Joe DiMaggio and a zillion other people. It was such a positive, warm, wonderful event. And the 30th anniversary is this weekend. And I wish I could be at Camden Yards. I'm going to be in Texas for Rangers Astros, which will be great too. But that was just a special, special occasion. And it's always near and dear to my heart. I've covered World Series, Olympics, NBA Finals, NHL Finals, you name it. And I've done a lot of amazing things. But that night stands out above all.
30th anniversary. I cannot believe it's been 30 years, Ken, and you continue to have guys like AJ Pierzynski make fun of you. You have come a long way in your career, Ken Rosenthal. Happy 30th anniversary to the Iron Man. That certainly is a record that will never, ever be broken. Well, if you're watching on TV, thank you guys so much for watching us. Ken will be back with a fresh episode on Monday. We'll see you next time. All right, we have a couple more minutes with our YouTube family. We appreciate you guys very much. Ken, you just mentioned it. You have Texas, you have Houston and Texas this weekend. That's going to be a good one because it's Jacob deGrom going up against Hunter Brown. On paper, anyway, that seems like a pretty good pitching probable.
Oh, it's a fantastic matchup. And two guys who are in the Cy Young conversation, maybe not at the forefront, but certainly in that mix. Crochet and Skubal are the two leaders. Perhaps Skubal and Crochet, I should say it that way. But Hunter Brown has had a brilliant season for the Astros. And Jacob deGrom, of course, has had an amazing comeback season, 150 innings now for the Texas Rangers. And without Eovaldi, at least for the time being, he's their ace. Now, what's interesting about deGrom is that because of course, his injury history, they've cut back on his workload in recent starts. And I was around the Rangers this week, and I asked about maybe extending him in this game, because of its meaning, of course, and was told, no, we're going to take it easy with him. We're going to hopefully get what we can out of him, but it's not going to be letting him go for 8 innings. He'll probably be at a 5-inning level, maybe 6. So I'm looking forward to that game. I'm looking forward to seeing Texas too. This team, of all the teams this year, has been one of the most confounding, and that's saying something given all the confounding situations we've seen. Sort of like the Dodgers, in that they've underachieved really all year long, especially on the offensive side. And now they're without Corey Seager. They had one span of 8 players going on the IL in 16 days in August, including Seager and Eovaldi and Simeon. They're scrappy. They're playing without these guys. They're hanging in there. I don't know if they have the offense to sustain it without the players I just mentioned, but here they are. They're just 5.5 out in the division, and more importantly for them, 1.5 back in the wild card race. I give them a shot. They're too talented not to be in a strong position. And if Seager comes back, which they do expect, even though he had an appendectomy about 10 days ago, they expect him back maybe even next week. Then Eovaldi, by the end of the regular season, Eovaldi's a little bit more problematic and doubtful. Then, okay, maybe they have a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance. Before we say goodbye quickly, Ken, you talked about Hunter Brown, you talked about Skubal, you talked about Crochet, of course. Aroldis Chapman has been unbelievable. Red Sox just extended him for next year. Is he in your Cy Young conversation, or is the only thing he gets is the Mariano Rivera, reliever award, which is great as well?
I'm partial to starting pitchers in the Cy Young conversation simply because they have greater volume, more innings pitched. If Aroldis Chapman was pitching 200 innings, okay, well, nobody's pitching 200, but 180, then is a different discussion, perhaps. So the BBWAA is going to institute a Relief Pitcher of the Year award starting next year, and at that point, we'll get to honor them in a way that we have not ever in our history. Obviously, yes, there are the 2 awards now, the Mariano Rivera Award and the Trevor Hoffman Award, and that's the spot for a Chapman. He has had an amazing season. And actually, I've got a story about him and Sal Perez coming tomorrow.
Oh, good. Look forward to that. Well, we are appreciative of everybody that joined us today here on Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal. Again, Ken is on the call for deGrom and Brown, the Rangers and the Astros this weekend. And he is back on Monday with a fresh episode of Fair. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you then.